welcome to the channel. I wanted to put together a quick review of the Hankook iON Evo all-season tires on my 2022 Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive and share my impressions after around 31,000 miles or about 50,000 kilometers of usage. So starting off with the driving experience, there's been a pretty noticeable reduction in road noise with these tires. The previous tires on this car were a set of cheap high-performance tires, and I've measured roughly a 5 decibel reduction in road noise with these tires compared to the previous tires at 70 miles an hour, from about 70 decibels down to 65 decibels, which is pretty significant and definitely makes a difference on long trips. So now on to wear, which is probably the area where I've been the most impressed with these tires. Just to give a quick summary of my use case, I don't use the car for commuting, I only use it for long road trips. So far, I've driven it to 29 US states and 2 Canadian provinces. It's been to both the highest elevation paved road in North America, as well as the lowest elevation paved road in North America. So, of course, this means lots of highway driving with very minimal turning or stopping, which is definitely easier on the tires. However, on the flip side, I've also driven the car on a lot of dirt roads with sharp rocks, so not all the mileage has been easy. I've also taken the car on the Alaska Highway, which is known to be particularly hard on tires, as it's littered with potholes and long sections of gravel. So it's really been a mix of either very easy driving or very hard driving, but probably about 98% highway. Here in the US, we measure tread depth in 30 seconds of an inch, but I'll also provide the metric conversions. When these tires were new, they had about 10 30-seconds of an inch of tread, or about 8 millimeters, but after 31,000 miles, they still have 8.5 to 9 30-seconds of an inch of tread, or just over 7 millimeters, which is absolutely incredible. So at this rate, I'm on track to potentially get at least 150,000 miles out of these tires, which would be amazing. I've only rotated the tires once, which was about 4 months ago after roughly 18,000 miles of driving. I didn't even need to rotate them as they were wearing perfectly evenly, but I did so because the car has about a degree of negative camber in the rear, and that can't be adjusted unless if you install aftermarket rear camber links, which I haven't done. It's also worth mentioning that this car has about 126,000 miles on the odometer, or just over 200,000 kilometers. So you'd think that having all this mileage on the bushings and other components would accelerate wear, but it doesn't seem to be affecting these tires. Really, the only thing I avoid is dry turning the tires, which is definitely a major source of wear. Efficiency has also been pretty incredible. I test on a 90-mile highway loop, which consists of 65-mile-an-hour highway driving with very slight rolling hills. In this test, I've noticed roughly a 7% reduction in consumption at highway speeds compared to my previous tires. When combined with the 18-inch wheels on my car and some faux Uber turbine wheel covers that I've purchased, I can easily get 175 to 180 watt-hour per mile all day long on the highway, which is pretty incredible. And on back roads with speeds around 50 to 55 miles an hour, the car consumes just 150 to 160 watt-hour per mile, which means that I can go well over 300 miles with just barely over 50 kilowatt-hours of energy on board. I've done multiple 10,000-mile cross-country road trips with these tires, and every single time I've averaged 200 watt-hour per mile or less, which is pretty incredible considering the 75 to 80 mile-an-hour speed limits on those routes. So overall, I'm extremely impressed with these tires. They're extremely quiet, extremely efficient, and they're wearing unbelievably slowly. They're really perfect for the long road trips that I use this car for, and I couldn't be any happier. So I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.